What is going on, everybody? It is Friday. It is time for yet another weekly preview of our college football. But before that, do you hear the chimes? Do you hear that? Oh, man. The NFL is back, y'all. The NFL is back. We got ourselves some preseason action last night. We saw Detroit and Los Angeles in the Hall of Fame game. It's kind of refreshing to have some NFL football back, ain't gonna lie. I mean, I've got my fill with the CFL, which you need to get the package for. It's $99 for the whole season. CFL season is longer than NFL season. I pick all the sides, all the totals, whatever I think is best. I've got a winning record. You should sign up at my Winnable. Winnable.com/Justin Paul Sports, or hit me up on X and I'll get you squared away. $99. I've just been crushing it this season. I'm up over, I think it's 12 units at this point in the season. So you're making money. And if you want to make money, you need to sign up and get with me. So let's do that. And my free play was the Chargers money line, which cashed very nicely. So keep following my free plays. I got a free play subscription plan on Winnable as well. And with that being said, let me bring in my co-host with the most from the other side of the Mississippi River.
What's going on, guys?
Bobby from Bobby's Big Board. We were talking some we could recap a little bit of that Hall of Fame game. Do you have any takes on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another preseason game, right? It's not going to give you too many takeaways on how the actual teams are going to do throughout the season. But I will say we did get to see some rookies work pretty well in action. Lambert Smith looked decent. Tesla had a couple catches. Omar and Hampton even had a couple of touches as well. So definitely looking forward to next weekend so we can see a little bit more teams try to trot out some of their rookies. And, I'm definitely excited for preseason football.
Yeah, it was good. It's like I was saying in the intro there, the UFL holds very well for me. I know that it's, a little bit of breaking news from them as well. They got the investor, a big investor, a billionaire, in fact, that was one of the co-founders of Vitamin Water. He wants to relocate 2 franchises, one to Columbus, Ohio for sure. They're definitely going to be doing expansion. He wants to do aggressive expansion. And by the year 2035, he wants the UFL to be at 16 teams. So I know that we talk about, this is a channel that's about football. It's going to be mostly football and college basketball. So when there's breaking news like this, I'm just going to kind of lead the live stream with that. But it's good that the UFL is going to survive. We want to see spring football. There's that huge niche between the end of the Super Bowl and just the long offseason in the NFL. And the NFL has a way of dominating it with the draft and with all sorts of things along that line. And, it just is a matter of getting the product out to the people, marketing the product right, getting investments, getting people into the stadiums. UFL is going to go to smaller stadiums, in fact, to try and get exactly what they want out there on the field for a view of attendance that makes it show that it doesn't look as empty, was kind of what the euphemism was for it. And that's what you want to see. We want to see people come and watch football games. It's the best sport there is. That's why it's an American sport, because in America, you're the land of the free and the home of the Whopper, and we throw the football, and we all want to watch it. I think Bobby had to step away for a moment. So before we start our college football, there he is. He is returned.
Sorry.
He has young children.
We are good. I'm excited to go over some Big Ten teams. We're going over some pretty good teams and some pretty bad teams. So we got everything in between here.
And, I like to make the jokes about the Big Ten. But some of the schools we're going over today, we're going over Minnesota. Fun fact about Minnesota, they're the last team to have a three-peat in the AP era back in the 40s, but they were the last team to do it. USC came close. I think Georgia came close.
Yep.
But it just hasn't happened. It's a really tough thing to do in the college game. That might change, though, with NIL and all these payments. But President Trump signed that executive order about he named it Donald J. Trump Saves College Football, but I don't know the exact parameters of it. But it seems like there's going to be some kind of revenue sharing to where, these bigger TV contracts and TV deals with these schools are going to have to subsidize your smaller schools. And I think that's a good thing in a sense. I mean, Major League Baseball does it with their TV deals, but on the same flip, in Major League Baseball, there's no salary cap and there's no floor. So I could see why they get a little more angry as opposed to this. And there's a potential that the SEC and the Big Ten and Big 12, I think that the ACC is going to kind of get absorbed into the SEC and the Big Ten. I do. And then you're going to see like a Super League, and we'll see. We'll see. You know, I love college football on all levels. Like I proclaimed 2 weeks ago, I wanted the Sun Belt to win the poll. We can go over that, even though nobody would be interested. But I certainly love. I love me football that's basically South and East. I don't care for 10 states too much, but there are a lot of great players that come out of the Big Ten. Ohio State's a great program. Wisconsin, who we're going to go over, has a long history of winning.
Absolutely.
Great running backs like Melvin Gordon and Jonathan Taylor come from there. Ron Dane, Heisman Trophy winners. We're going to go over Northwestern, who a bit of a not a flagship football team there, but a beautiful temporary stadium right there in Lake Michigan, which is good for them. And we're going over who else do we got on the board there?
We got Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin. We have Iowa and Minnesota.
Iowa. So Iowa is obviously tight end university, you know?
Yep.
I mean, just Laporta, Kittle, all sorts of them. Komet, I think, went there.
Noah Fant. People forget about Noah Fant. TJ Hawkins as well.
I will have my Iowa rant when we get to Iowa that I promised last week. I have not forgotten you Hawkeye fans. We got 12 viewers. Thank you for joining. I'm sure most of you aren't X because if you were on YouTube, I would see comments. I would love for you to click the YouTube link and join us in the comment section.
Absolutely. Any questions y'all got football related, man, we will smash them. Just shoot us whatever you guys got, man.
Yeah, Bobby evidently likes trivia. He may not know the college trivia so much, but we'll see how he does it for some NFL trivia. I got one for him maybe at the end of the show for a little Easter egg that he had no idea. If he reveals something like that to me, then I'm going to put him on the spot. If you're watching on my X, subscribe to his channel. The man goes over all kinds of top 5 lists, top 10 lists. He's got a top. What was the video that we talked about that went and got over 3,000 views or 2,000 views?
Yeah, I was going over my top 50 rookies during training camp. It was just an updated list, right? Just going over pretty much every rookie that I thought was going to be mildly relevant for us in fantasy. Obviously, there's not going to be 50 rookies from this class that are all going to be fantasy relevant, but I tiered them all up. Kind of gave you guys a brief breakdown of what I thought of each of them in terms of their skill set, where they fit into each team, stuff like that. So if you're interested in what I think about all these rookies, I watched countless hours of all-22 film on pretty much every single one of those prospects. I graded them all. I had graded over 100 prospects in terms of just skill positions. So definitely, if you guys want a broad look of everything and it's very specific, just come on over and check it out, man. I got stuff dropping every single week, but I'm excited to get into some film, man.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's just kind of go ahead and segue us into our first team for today.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Northwestern Wildcats. They didn't have a great season last year. Let's just be honest. They went 4-8, 2-7 in the Big Ten. Not a good in-division record at all. And they're head coached by David Braun, who, by all accounts, you know, he's been a part of this team for a few years now, and they just haven't really been able to make a solid football team. And you see that in the offensive rankings. I mean, they were one of the worst offenses in the entire country. 128th ranked offense in terms of points per game, 111th passing offense in terms of passing yards per game, and 123rd rushing offense in terms of rushing yards per game. They run a pro-style balanced offense, so very much a traditional offense that works under center a decent amount. They'll work in shotgun sometimes. They're trying to be as balanced as they can. Hopefully they're not as balanced in terms of their terribleness on both passing and rushing, but hopefully they can get some sort of identity in one of those categories, whether it's passing or rushing. Now, they do get Preston Stone from SMU. He did lose his job last year at SMU, and he's like, you know what, I'm out of here. And he comes to Northwestern, of all places. He's probably going to be their starter. So They get 12 returning starters. How do you feel about these Wildcats, and how do you feel about their identity going forward as a football team? Because it feels like they tried being a little bit of everything this past season. They just couldn't make anything work.
Well, 2 weeks ago, we talked about week 0 in college football and how we talked about putting the Army-Navy game on there, which has, gained traction with some people. And the Northwestern is one of the more academically gifted schools.
Yep.
It's like Stanford, it's like Vanderbilt, and they are you can't get in there based just on athletic merits alone. You're going to have a serious collegiate experience if you go to Northwestern. I think that's somewhat hindered their ability to recruit great players. I mean, Stanford's had a few. Our boy went to Tennessee, got drafted by the Titans. I mean, Vanderbilt's got Diego Piava, who's been really, really running his mouth. God bless him, as he rightfully should for what he did last year.
He was the sole person that carried Vanderbilt through a few of those games, man. He was just like the only guy that could do anything.
But Northwestern really hasn't had a whole lot of elite talent come out of there that I can think of in my lifetime. And I'm, in my mid-40s. But they've had a few good seasons in there. I mean, they had that scandal with Coach Fitzgerald. That's why they down-tiered some. And it's just, I think they're serious about academics, but we just don't know what they're going to be able to do. Notre Dame has really tight academics as well, but I don't think to the level that Northwestern does. And I don't see them compromising on their integrity. So because they don't, you're not going to get your C-plus players going and play Northwestern. And sometimes your more talented athletes don't exactly put their nose in the books. Let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, some of these guys that go to other places aren't exactly linguistically inclined to have a higher tier of education just by hearing them speak alone. But nonetheless, they go to college there and they do great, and they're athletes. And at Northwestern, you got to be an academic first.
Yep.
So I don't know.
We'll see. That does rub some athletes the wrong way, right? Because a lot of these athletes, they just want to come, coast through college as easily as possible because they feel like they're going to go to the NFL and they don't have to have all this academic success. So that definitely probably puts a hamper on the amount of recruits, the types of recruits that they can get. But you see, here's a little bit of running from Northwestern. They got some pretty basic jerseys for the most part, but you just see them. Here's a pretty solid run here.
Solid. That's a great run. I mean,
yeah. This is versus Houston, I believe, or Buffalo.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just some quick concepts, right? You see the basic hitch route from your tight end. We've all seen this a million times before, so.
Northwestern, for the record, doesn't wear black very often. It's like a dark purple. Like that helmet and that screen cap there isn't their traditional helmet either. That's a throwback.
Yep.
So they've got some dark purple. Some of their stuff looks good, but
I'm trying to fix something really, really quick.
But I remember, when I was younger, Northwestern had like one of those miracle seasons where they almost went to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Go to the Rose Bowl, one or the other. Sometimes it just happens, but like I said, in the era of college football, we don't know who's going to be good. Really, it's going to be the big money makers, and it's sad because like for example, we're going to talk about Michigan in 2 weeks, but Bryce Underwood's just the epitome of what I think is somewhat wrong with college football. I mean, there's two sides to the coin. There's go get your money, but with him, he was committed to LSU, but he's from Michigan. There's pictures of him as a kid as a Michigan fan. He's from the Detroit area. And then he commits to Brian Kelly, and Michigan has to unload the Brinks truck, to bring him back to Michigan. And I think that's kind of disheartening as a college football fan.
Yep.
I know that college football fans that I've spoken to feel the same way a little bit. Like, that's part of the appeal of the sport, is being a regional thing.
Yeah.
You got guys that do travel across the country, but if you're from the state of Alabama, or if you're from the state of Mississippi, you want to play for Ole Miss, or you want to play for State, or you want to play for Alabama.
That's the traditional way of thinking about it, right? But then you see the number one player in Alabama just commit to Oregon. So it's just
from Mobile.
It's just whoever has the biggest bag to give them, right? And I just wish college football wasn't as big for that. But anyways, we'll dive a little bit deeper into this Northwestern offense. There's not really much to talk about, guys. I'll be honest. As their offensive coordinator, you got Zach Lujan, Cam Porter's returning for his 5th consecutive season. I mean, you know how you were talking about there's not much loyalty in college sports anymore. To be fair, Cam Porter has been consistently underperforming as their running back, but he's like one of the better players that they have. But he's stayed with this school for 5 years straight now. He's coming off a down year, hadn't really averaged that great of yards per carry. We'll look at some of his plays. Actually, number one who made that really good run, that was Cam Porter. And then they have a slightly bolstered wide receiver room. You got Griffin Wild, who had over 1,000 yards at South Dakota State. Obviously, they had a fantastic season in the FCS last year. Then they have Chase Farrell, who's returning. And they have Alex Lyons as their tight end. So I think that their wide receiver room is slightly better than their running back room. But who knows, Cam Porter, he's very much a veteran at this point in his career, his collegiate career, that is. So we'll see. And then in terms of their QB play, I think it's going to have an uptick because Preston Stone in 2023 with SMU had a pretty solid season. I want to say it was like 3,200 yards, 26 touchdowns, 7 picks, something like that. It was a very respectable season at SMU. And then they have 3 O-linemen returning. And I will say in 2024, they had a ton of injuries on that offensive line. They had just a real unfortunate occurrence of just injury after injury. So that definitely limited how well they could play in the trenches. So hopefully that doesn't happen again this year. But let's go ahead and look. I want to say Cam Porter's up here with some highlights here. Yep, here's a Purdue highlight number 4 here. You just see a wide open lane versus the Boilermakers right into the end zone, Cam Porter. Then you see this is Griffin Wild here for South Dakota State. Just has some solid kind of route technician type of play. So here he is on a screen route here. He's just, he's fine. I think he doesn't offer a lot in terms of athleticism. I think he's a smart receiver. He kind of reminds me of a slower, if you can imagine that, a slower Xavier Restrepo. That's kind of the vibe that I get. Maybe kind of a Hunter Renfrow with less good route running. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he did show out at South Dakota State last year. So we'll see how he does. Now, we'll go ahead and go straight into – oh, there's no icons on here. That's fine. We're going to go straight into the Northwestern schedule. So they open their season up against Tulane. I think that's a loss. Western Illinois, I think that's a win. Oregon at home, no chance. UCLA could be a win for them. They're both pretty bad teams in terms of how well they've been playing. ULM, that could be a win. Penn State on the road, no shot. But I end up giving them, I want to say 4-8. I have them just going basically the same record that they had last year. I think this is a pretty brutal schedule in all honesty. You got to play Oregon. You got to play Penn State, Nebraska, USC, Michigan, Minnesota, and Illinois. I mean, you don't have barely any competitive Big Ten games outside of maybe the UCLA and the Purdue game. I mean, this is just a tough schedule if you are the Northwestern Wildcats. Where did you end up having them finish? Because, I mean, this is just a tough schedule.
I had them a little worse. I had them at 3-9.
Yeah, I mean, this schedule is just brutal.
Well, it's not so much just that. It's the fact that they can't beat the mid-tier teams in their conference yet.
Exactly. And even though they don't even have that many mid-tier – I mean, their mid-tier teams are like the upper mid teams. They don't have any like Wisconsins or things like that.
If you do look at this team, though, there is a lot of home games, and
thank goodness.
I actually do think that they can win that game in Tulane. I really like Tulane's uniforms. I like a lot about Tulane. They're one of the premier programs in the American Conference.
Yep.
But I think that they can go down there and win that game down there in New Orleans. And then I think they start out 2-0. And then after that, it's kind of disastrous. I mean, I think UCLA gets them, and I think that they can beat the Warhawks.
Yep.
But then after that,
they lost their really good running back, too. We talked about him in the SEC preview show. Yeah. Their running back is phenomenal. He ended up going to one of the SEC schools and getting a bag. So, yeah, I could see them winning the Tulane game. I definitely have them winning the Western Illinois game, the ULM. I haven't beaten UCLA at home. And then I have them upsetting one of the teams later on in the year, maybe Illinois or Minnesota. One of those teams. He'd probably get an upset late in the season. But we'll see. I mean, this team definitely not going to be a ranked team at any point in the season. I think they got a lot of talent that they need to bring in. Yeah. And they're just going to have to slowly build this team. They got to get some sort of identity because they were on offense. Their identity was just being bad. Like, that's just what it was. And I hate to say that about a football team, but they were horrible on offense last year. I mean, dead last pretty much all over the place. I mean, I
had to thumb through the Northwestern football archives of last season.
I mean, it was tough. I mean, they were bad everywhere. So, and they couldn't figure things out. And what's even worse is I had to pick a key player from this offense that I think could possibly maybe be fantasy relevant for us at any point. There's not many of these players that are going to even go to the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy might be the only guy that gets a nod in the NFL, and he's probably a backup. We'll see. But, man, I was almost on the money with the yards. But we got Preston Stone, former SMU starter. He lost his job last season, but he didn't really have that bad of stats. It was kind of like a Will Rogers type of situation where he put up good stats, but they just weren't winning games. He was very inefficient. He was just checking down. But he is a senior. He's a little bit undersized at 6'2", 205 pounds. It's not undersized to where it's a killer for the NFL, but he was a 3-star transfer. He was a former 4-star recruit. SMU loved to have him. And in the season that he started all year, in 2023, 3,200 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And, you know, he's a fairly accurate quarterback. He's got a solid release, good deep ball, solid pocket awareness from what I saw on film, from the SMU film. But his arm is just not – it's not an NFL arm. It's just not. And if you're asking him to just check down the ball, I mean, if you're talking about like a parody of Alex Smith, that's kind of what this guy is. And he's a very limited rusher. Obviously, Alex Smith was a solid rusher. SMU throwing the deep ball on the money. That's beautiful. Here he is. I mean, you see how – look at that. I mean, it just hangs up there forever. He just does not have the NFL caliber arm, but he's the only guy that I could think maybe he comes out here, has a great year at Northwestern. He's like an undrafted guy that gets on a team as their practice squad. That's what we're talking about here with Northwestern. This is the most fantasy relevant player that you're going to get. Cam Porter has averaged like 3.5 yards per carry his entire career. Couldn't have been him, even though he's played for that team a long time. I don't have much faith in the guy out of South Dakota State because he just wasn't the best athlete. I don't want to be here and just be like, I hate Northwestern, but they don't have any talent on the offensive side of the ball. It's just, it is what it is. And
it is.
That's just kind of how I feel about this Northwestern team. Fingers crossed that Preston Stone comes out there and balls out. It would be a phenomenal story, but this is probably a 4-win team, and they win 3 of those 4 games off the back of their defense.
Yeah, it's just going to be – they're tough to watch every season. Nothing ever changes there. It's just, like I said, academics, I think, play a big factor into getting in school there. Just going to be tough sledding, I guess, for Northwestern. I really don't know.
Absolutely. But now we have a team that has produced some NFL talent. You mentioned it before. Melvin Gordon had that phenomenal game where it was, you know, over it was 300 yards, right? Just something crazy. He has the single game rushing record, I believe, in the FBS. Jonathan Taylor, they've just had 2,000-yard rusher after 2,000-yard rusher. If you look at all of the 2,000-yard rushers in college football history, there's like 6 of them that are from Wisconsin. They were just a little bit of history on Wisconsin. Just if you kind of can follow context clues, they like to run the football. Historically, they love to do that. But they tried that last year. Didn't necessarily work that well. 5-7, 3-6 in the Big Ten. And they're head coached by Luke Fickell, who's been there a little bit as well. But you look at it, 108th ranked offense in terms of points per game. Definitely kind of a piss poor showing there from them. 102nd passing offense, not the greatest. And even as a team that is built to run the football, their identity is run the football down your throat. 78th rushing offense. There are some air raid teams out there that finished higher than them. So they definitely have to figure some things out. I think some personnel issues, obviously, talent issues as well. NIL hasn't probably been the nicest to the Wisconsin Badgers because unless you're a running back or a offensive lineman, you probably don't really want to go there. And that makes sense. I mean, that's fair. And they run a balanced spread offense now. They are built on a physical run game, but they're also going to utilize the pass a little bit more than you probably would expect coming into this year. Because he's been historically, the last year they were trying to do a little bit of air raid concepts, things like that as well, and it just didn't really work out. And you see a new quarterback coming in from the portal. They got Billy Edwards Jr. We'll talk about him a little bit more. And then they have 14 returning starters as well. That's a great thing for Wisconsin. But how do you feel about the Wisconsin Badgers moving forward into 2025? And do you think they improve? We'll talk about their schedule specifics a little bit later, but do you think there's an upwards trend with the Wisconsin Badgers?
No. I think that there's a big problem here that I can't place my finger on. I'm wondering if Wisconsin is suffering from ancient facilities. This feels like a situation where when Nick Saban took the job at LSU, that was the first thing he went in there and changed was they said that the facilities there were just an absolute joke. And I'm not saying that that's the case at Wisconsin, but I feel like that they're kind of the team that's lagging behind Michigan and Ohio State because of something like that. Because It's not like they don't have a deep tradition here. It's not like they don't have a history of winning there because they have won football games there. And, you know, last year, for example, Alabama came in their house and beat the piss out of them, realistically.
It was horrible.
And then their quarterback got injured in that game, and then that usually can derail your season. But I don't feel that this is going to be a forgiving season for them because of the schedule, which I know we're going to go over here in a minute. And Luke Fickell, you know, he's the only coach to take he took Cincinnati to the playoff with Desmond Ridder and Jerome Ford and Sauce Gardner and those guys. And I know that's why Wisconsin hired him because he built that program. And he stayed at Cincinnati an extra year before he took another job. So I think after this, I think they're going to struggle this season.
Yeah.
And then after next year, his seat's going to be on fire. He's got to figure it out. He's got to win. You can't be at Wisconsin and not go to a bowl game. It's just not how they operate.
Yeah.
So
they have high standards.
I'm wondering if it's facilities. I wonder if it's partially NIL, but you don't want that to be an excuse. You know, I mean, there's some truth to it, but this college football game is constantly evolving right now with things changing all the time and transfer portals. And the inability to commit for players is crazy. It's the hardest thing to coach. They can't coach rosters. It's wild to me. But I don't see an improvement here, not this season.
Well, we'll kind of go ahead and show you guys a little bit of what Wisconsin does in terms of a team. Here you go, some classic power football. That's what I'd like to see from these Big Ten teams. Get a big back. You see the big back here. Just some power football, man. Just get people in the hole, fight for, what they say, 4 yards in a cloud of dust every single play. That's what we want. And you just see them running the football. And they did start 5-5, and then they just kind of collapsed, obviously, towards the end of the season. But, that's what we need. We need some running football. We need to get back to that identity. I know they tried a little bit of spread concepts and things like that, but it's just, you got to run the football, man. You got to identify what you guys are going to do on offense. Run the ball down their throat. Michigan's got the similar sort of identity. Obviously, they're in their own little issue right now. But you see Maryland quarterback Billy Edwards Jr. is coming in. You see 2,800 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks in 2024. Definitely not the greatest stats. Their offensive coordinated by Jeff Grimes. And, there's just not a ton of – that big running back that you saw on film there, Justin, he transferred. He's gone. He's I want to say he transferred to an SEC school, I believe. But regardless, I think he went to Missouri. But in terms of their running back room, it's going to be Cade Yakimelli and Darian Dupree. I do like Darian Dupree a little bit. I like his skill set. I think he might take the cake in this RB room, but I still think it's going to be a slight committee. And then you see some underrated wide receivers in this room. You got Vinny Anthony II, Trej Kekahuna, some strong guys in this wide receiver room, which, I mean, I know you guys want to pass the football, try to anyways. It's solid. It's a good idea. Definitely with the spread style offense, you want to try and spread the field out, dink and dunk your way. Billy Edwards Jr. is definitely decent at doing that, but the strength of this team, and it's always been the strength of this team, is an O-line. And they do have a pretty strong O-line per usual. We got 3 returning starters now, and I mean, like I said, they had a ton of starters returning, so we just need to see consistency in the running room, and we need to get the quarterback situation fixed. Here's some highlights from Billy Edwards Jr. This is versus UConn. And there's a beautiful drop in the bucket there. Man, versus Michigan State. That's a really good throw. I'll show that one more time. That's Ty Felton, a Minnesota Viking now. And then, here you go. This is Anthony II here, one of their wide receivers. Just some solid ability here. Boom. Here's another Anthony II. Boom. Just beautiful stuff here.
They almost won that game. That Oregon game last year against Wisconsin came down to the end and nearly cost Oregon that perfect season. They fought their ass. Wisconsin fought their ass. I think it was a couple questionable plays at the end that cost them that game, but that's usually how it works.
Yeah, so looking at the Wisconsin schedule, you see this. I have them towards the bottom. I think the quarterback who they landed in the portal is not the answer at all. I think Maryland had a very star-studded cast around them. I don't want to say star-studded, but they have some solid guys that came from that school. They have sort of like a wide receiver lineage there. Ty Felton was there. They had a decently solid program last year, but he just didn't put up he turned the ball over a ton. He's very limited athletically. And that's the biggest nitpick that I have with this team is I don't think the quarterback situation is going to look very pretty. That's why I got them going 3-9. I have them as one of my bottom teams, if not the bottom team in the Big Ten. And I think Fickell gets fired halfway through the season. I know that's a little crazy. Because he's very new to this team and he's a team builder. That's his thing. He builds up teams slowly, right? With Cincinnati. I think they're going to lose confidence in him halfway through the year. They're not seeing any steady improvement, and they're going to see some regression. I think Fickell is out of there probably by the Washington game. So looking at this schedule here, Miami, Ohio, I think they might get that one, even though they're a decent team. Middle Tennessee, I think they get that. Why is Alabama on this schedule? Why?
They did a home and home. I mean,
I know, but that is just tough. So you get to play Alabama and Tuscaloosa. That is a horror show. Thank you guys for the tune-up game. Alabama says that's going to be. I mean, yeah, they took Oregon to the wire, but I think they lost. They lost their power back, running back, the guy that was pretty much the backbone of the team. Lost him. They got a new quarterback under center. This is just a headache of a team. Maryland, I don't think they have a chance against them. They're going to show Billy Edwards like, hey, buddy, shouldn't good one. Good.
Should have stuck down, huh?
Yeah. Hey, check this out. Good job going to Wisconsin, buddy. Michigan, rough. Iowa, rough. Ohio State, really rough. Oregon, really rough. Washington, really rough. Indiana, probably not a shot on the road. Illinois, that's pretty tough. I mean, I think their only win in this entire division might be versus. I mean, maybe Iowa. I think Iowa's going to be a tough team. I think they're going to be in a tough spot offensively because they lost Caleb Johnson. I cannot stress to you guys enough. We'll talk about Iowa in a minute. Yeah. I can't stress to you how much I think that's going to hurt their team by losing Caleb Johnson. You have them going just slightly a bit better. We're very much on the same page here with our predictions here, but just maybe off by a game. So what is your logic putting them at 4-8? You see regression. I also see regression. Is it the quarterback situation that's got you very hesitant in this team? Is it the transfers? Is it the schedule? This schedule is a horror show, but yeah. Go ahead and tell me your thoughts.
I think that they might potentially go 5-7. But like you said, you can bring a transfer quarterback and do okay, though. It just, it just depends, because he didn't look terrible when he was at Maryland. But I think that just this rotation of the schedule really hurts this team. But I don't think Luke Fickell gets fired this year. I think the Wisconsin fans are actually going to have a little bit of understanding. I mean, this is a murderer's row if you're a Big Ten football team. There's just zero doubt about it.
It is. I think if they're competitive in a few of these games, I think he might stay around. But, I mean, if it's like last year's Alabama game all over again, where you just get trampled by Alabama, and then you make your quarterback revenge game, and then they get smoked in that one, I just think it's going to be a double slap in the face if they get smoked in those games.
So looking at it, I do think that they'll win the first 2 games. I don't think that they'll win in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's got a championship caliber team this season. I do think that he does get his revenge on Maryland in that September 20th home game. It is a tough place to play up there in Madison, Wisconsin. Make no mistake. I mean, it's as Wisconsin fans like to say, and they might be a little shocked that I know this because I'm not a Wisconsin fan, but I know what teach you how to bucky means. So they might do something well up there at Camp Randall. I appreciate Wisconsin football. I do. I mean, I'm a Packer fan. But, collegiately, I've never really followed them. But I think that they could beat Maryland, have that 3-1 start. And I think that's if he does that, I think that's enough to just kind of say, okay, maybe we can get a bowl here. I mean, it could fluctuate from 4-8 to 6-6, kind of looking at it a little more, and maybe they sneak into a bowl. I think Michigan is beatable.
Sure.
But it's going to be tough at the big house. Iowa at home is going to be tough. Ohio State's going to be tough. It's just so hard. Oregon on the road, I don't like that. I think they could beat the Huskies, and I think that Indiana can be beat. I mean, I think last year's Indiana team was kind of an anomaly. I don't think that's standard. They don't have a standard there. I think that they regress. I do think Indiana regresses. I don't think that they beat Illinois, though, because that's ironically Burt Bielema, coached at Wisconsin, and then he left that job for the Arkansas job. So he, that kind of, I don't know if it's his return there or not. Good football team, and they're a potential playoff in my eyes.
I think they're it's like all the teams that have like Ohio State, the top cream of the crop Big Ten teams. Then you have Illinois, who's like, if you can't kind of title contention, then somewhere in there.
And I think Minnesota beats them. So I would have went to that Alabama game for sure. I mean, they play jump around to start the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just a fun time, I'm sure.
It's a beautiful atmosphere.
So, but yeah, 4-8 is the floor. It could be worse, but I think 6-6 is the ceiling. But I don't think they fire Fickell. I don't.
Yeah.
I think that the alumnus and the understand, and I think he'll still have another season, and we'll see what they do in the offseason. Like I said before, we started these with facilities and NIL, and there's just got to be a way to put a cap on this stuff because some of these teams are. But before we go on to the next slide, we had 30 viewers at the moment. We dropped down to 28. So we doubled our count. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please spread the word. See if you can get us to 100. That'd be awesome. Retweet us, like us, subscribe.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Also, I want to give a brief thing to all you Big Ten teams. Can we get some can we get some better logos in here? Why is it always just like W, I, like M? Like all of these logos are just letters. They're just basic letters and colors. That's all. Basically all. When Iowa has the coolest logo in the Big Ten, maybe Ohio State's up there. Like, guys, we got to do better. We got to do better with the logos. I like some of the color schemes. I like Maryland, like Minnesota with the maroon and yellow. But we got to get better with the logos, guys. If y'all need some logos made, I got y'all. But we need to update the logos, please. I mean, it's just so tough. So I purposefully did not talk about this guy.
Okay.
Whenever we were going over the running back rooms. This guy is pure speculation. Pure speculation. Okay. Dylan Jones, he's 6 foot, 206 pounds. That is his high school measurements. So he's probably a little bit bigger than this now. He's a redshirt freshman. Okay. He played just a little bit last year, but he had over 5.5 yards per carry. 16 carries, 88 yards. Definitely some solid stuff. I'll show some of his highlights here in a moment. He was a 4-star recruit, 139th recruit nationally. He was the number 10 overall running back recruit. Okay. Great burst for his size. Obviously, he's got really good size. We need that for a Wisconsin back. You look at Jonathan Taylor. You look at Melvin Gordon. They're your typical bruising backs with good feet. That's what they are, except Jonathan Taylor's a little bit more explosive, right? He's got some
good.
He's got a special blend of a little bit of everything, pass catching as well. So just wish he could stay a little bit more healthy in the NFL. It's just a different beast with those guys tackling you, man. But he's got some really impressive contact balance. Obviously, you need that in Big Ten football because you can't just have these linebackers and DBs arm tackling you. You just can't. But in terms of him, this is where he kind of falters from Jonathan Taylor and some of these other backs that have been really successful, like Saquon Barkley and stuff from the Big Ten. He's got some limited long speed. That doesn't kill you. You know, I think Omarion Hampton had that issue. Caleb Johnson also had that issue. So you can be successful and be a day 2 pick, even a day 1 pick like Omarion Hampton was with that problem. But he is pure speculation. I think he's got some tools. Here he is. This is some of his high school film I pulled out from. He is, you know, he's a little bit slender here, but I mean, this is versus high school. I mean, he's got some feet and here because they don't really have any standout doing great. There's been other that have done pretty well as well. So Dylan Jones, super sleeper running back from the Wisconsin Badgers. Now, next up, a team that I enjoy quite a bit. I think that they have a lot of tools. I think they have a decent amount of talent as well, and that's the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They went 8-5 last year, 5-4. They won in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. You know, they won a bowl game. They were ranked a good portion of the season last year, and they're head coached by one of the most stylish head coaches in the entire college football universe, and that's PJ Fleck. I mean, look at that man. I would love for him to head coach my team. That would be cool. But anyways, you see in terms of how they ranked offensively, not terrible, middle of the road in my opinion, but their defense was obviously pretty solid as well. But 80th ranked offense in terms of points per game, 76th passing offense in terms of passing yards per game. Y'all know the drill by now. 110th rushing offense, so definitely below average there. They were more so primarily a passing attack, even though you see a balanced spread offense. I think they're going to commit to the run a little bit more than they did last year. I think that's going to be a slight change here. And, man, they have a question mark at quarterback as well. He's got a cool name. So if his name equates to success, we could see some talent here. But redshirt freshman quarterback likely to start, Drake Lindsey. So we'll see what he can do with this Minnesota Golden Gophers team. It's not about talent. He's got a good cast to work with, and he's got 10 returning starters. So, you know, we've seen more, we've seen less, but overall, I think the Golden Gophers are primed for, you know, a top 20 finish in the college football landscape. I think they're a very talented team. They have a lot of, you know, they did lose their offensive tackle Ursery in the draft. I think it was a second-round pick to the Texans. But outside of that, I think they kept most of their cast on the team, didn't have too many transfers. How are you thinking about the Golden Gophers and their boring logo?
Well, I was going to say something about that earlier with the logos when you talk about change it up. I mean, I'm actually going to flip side on it because those are all traditional.
All traditional logos? And they play traditional football too, so I can see that.
With the exception of Oregon, who changes uniforms like nothing, and who can't recruit a quarterback, they have to go out and get transfer portal quarterbacks. I'm not sorry, Oregon. That's your life story. Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, list goes on. Nonetheless, you still win football games, so I got to give it to you there.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
He is the ideal epitome of what Minnesota football is. There is ostensibly the old, you know, tradition. I mean, they had that rivalry with Wisconsin. They got one with Michigan as well. and they've got all their little Big Ten trophies. And like I said, I'm not a Big Ten guy, but I do respect the hell out of those kinds of things. I like that they keep it traditional. They haven't allowed some of these modern logos and markups are really kind of obnoxious, in my opinion. Some of them, so they can kind of, in my opinion, kind of keep it that way. But I do think that they're going to be a good team this upcoming season.
Absolutely.
I think Fleck is the guy. They play in that nice stadium up there in Minnesota. It's a great facility. They got a good fan support. Like I said, they're the last team to hold a three-peat in college football. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think that they're a fringe playoff team. I don't think that they get in. But, I mean, like you said, they're starting the freshman quarterback. And I think that may be what holds them back. But let's take a look at what they got on tape.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think they're going to hover around the 4 range, I think. But look at that. Oh, no, this isn't Drake Lindsay. This is just their stuff. Here's a traditional slip screen, right, to 24. Here's a little bit. Oh, never mind. But, yeah, just not much to talk about in terms of how they do things offensively. They try to play under center, play in the shotgun. They'll run your basic play concepts. They're not a very exciting offense. They just keep things fairly traditional. But overall, they've got some pieces, man. They got some pieces. So their offensive coordinator by Greg Harbaugh Jr. You probably recognize that last name. If you do, yeah. Anyways, in terms of their quarterback, redshirt freshman, he was a 3-star. He's probably starting at quarterback. Drake Lindsay had 50 yards and a touchdown in 2024. Very limited action. But they've got a superstar junior running back who I think could absolutely be a second, third round pick if he picks it up this year. So Darius Taylor, 986 yards and 10 touchdowns last year. So definitely excited to see what he can do. He's got a lot of very exciting skills with him. Questionable wide receiver room. Logan Loya he's a veteran. He's played for a little while, but he hasn't really put up much in terms of the stat sheet. He's the UCLA transfer. Then you got Lemeke Brockington. He's the returning guy for Minnesota. I think he's going to be probably their lead guy. We'll see how he does. And then we have a lot of questions on the offensive line. Only 2 starters return, and they lost Ursary, like I said, as their offensive tackle. He was a world beater. He was a second-round pick to the Texans, who obviously need all the help they can get at tackle, at offensive line in general. So let's go ahead and look. I got some more high school film, guys. Here's some Drake Lindsay. He's a big boy. I want to say he's 6'4", 6'5", as well. As you can see, off-platform throw. I mean, yeah, it's versus high school competition. Look how little that guy is. Boya stats, it's some highlight. A crafty slot guy, and not much more to see on him. It's just some slot action, a lot of underneath stuff. Think like really, really dumbed down on Monroe St. Brown. That's kind of some things like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I want to go ahead and get right. I have a fairly favorable schedule, I think. That's why I have them going 10-2. I have them going 8-1 in the division. I think they are up there towards the top of the division as well. So, I mean, they got Buffalo, Northwestern, Cal. I think they'll probably drop the Ohio State game, and I think they drop the Oregon. They run the house, and you have them going slightly less than me at 9-3. So, I'm sure we agree they dropped the Oregon and Ohio State games. Is there one other team on here, maybe Nebraska, Iowa, that you think they're losing to?
I think that the little hiccup might be over there going to Kinnick Field in Iowa. I think that sometimes when you're on a road game, especially playing at a place like that, that is a really underrated stadium.
They're loud, too. They're very loud over there in Iowa. There's some loud people.
If
Minnesota I don't know how you can get excited for their games, but
if Minnesota wins 10 games and only loses 1 conference game, they'll be playing for the Big Ten championship, and Golden Gopher fans will send you merchandise. There's zero doubt about it.
I think they're a very good team.
It'd be refreshing to see. I mean, I don't buy into the whole euphemism of saying, well, you know, we need new teams in there. The best teams need to be in there. But it would be fun to see. Like last year, you know, for those that know, I live in the Phoenix area.
Yeah.
Arizona State went wild last year. Nobody was expecting anything of them. And then when they went to the playoff, you know, and they had that exciting game against Texas, people tune into that kind of story. Yeah. But like I said, I think the schedule is pretty favorable for this team. They don't draw the Wisconsin gauntlet, and it helps them substantially. But
I don't know how they dodged that, because the first two teams, aren't the best in terms of programs. They got hammered with the schedule, and then Minnesota gets given this. I mean, you got two hard games on your schedule, like games where you're probably favored to lose. The Ohio State game and the Oregon game, they're probably favorites in all the rest of these. If I had to guess.
Well, Nebraska, I think, might be the other team I think that can get them. Either Nebraska or Iowa. Those are the ones that will give them the most grief. I mean, Nebraska, Matt Rule is really building something special. We're going to go over them later today.
NFL run didn't go that well with the Panthers, but definitely, I mean, he's a solid guy, right? He's a solid offensive coach. But, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a little too high on him. I will say about Arizona State, I wish we were talking about them because they got a running back in the portal. I'm a big Army fan. And they got a transfer from Army, Kanye Udo. He's a fullback. He's going to play running back for him. He's fantastic. He's going to be the Scadaboo replacement. We'll see him probably run wild this next season. So anybody
wild, brother.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you guys are watching Arizona State football, I want you guys to look out for Kanye Udo. That guy is a monster. So anyways, we'll go through this schedule now, and we'll look at the key player. It's got to be Darius Taylor. It's got to be. I think he's going to come out this year. He has something to prove. Basically, whether he's going to be a high draft pick or not is riding on this season and this season alone. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds. I am almost 100% certain he's coming out this year, and he will be, if he does about what he did last year, I think he'll probably be a 3rd, 4th round pick somewhere in there. But he was a 3-star recruit in 2023. He was the number 29 running back in this class. I mean, nothing great, right? 3-star running backs, they're, a little bit above average, obviously. But he has proven he's anything but that. I mean, he's got some consistent production, 1,700, almost 1,800 yards and 15 touchdowns in the past 2 years at Minnesota. That's freshman and sophomore years. He's using the passing game as well. He's got some really solid hands. And I think he's going to be the premier back again for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. He's hard to tackle. Super hard to tackle. He's a reliable pass catcher. He's a reliable pass protector as well, which is why I think his draft capital will be fairly high this year. So, Deuce is a Mississippi State fan just like I am. He's going with me. Whether we get free tickets or not, we're going to that Arizona State game on September 6th. That's going to be electric, whether I got to buy him a ticket or not. But
there you go.
I will say with this kid right here, Minnesota, I think he's got a lot of positives. He does have some limited long speed, and he does run high, a little bit higher than I'd like him to. Caleb Johnson kind of had that same problem, but he bounced off tackles. Yeah. Maroon. White. Anyways, we're going to look at some Darius Taylor highlights, and this is versus Rhode Island. Yes, I know, but you're going to see some sweet feet, man. Sweet feet. There's a big 15-yard chunk gain. Right, boom. Here's another play versus Rhode Island. I got some other highlights as well, not from Rhode Island. Here's a wham play fake to the back here. Look at that. Yeah, okay, that's why you play for Rhode Island, buddy. Look at that. Whoop! See you later. I don't know why you got a dude out there like that.
That also happens in the NFL. Like, that can happen to anybody.
Yeah. Hey, Rocky Sin didn't do that when Omar and Hampton tried to meet him in the box. He said, "Nah, bro. I was a 3rd round pick for a reason." Here he is versus USC though. Actual good team, ranked team at the time. Look at that cut back. The cutback ability. His vision's pretty solid. He just
man.
Hey. Boom! He just took your 0, buddy. I want to watch that one more time.
I'm gonna do the Chris Boom!
Yeah, just absolutely obliterates him. I think this guy has a ton of potential just because of his skill set. Even if he puts up like the same sort of numbers, 900 yards and 10 touchdowns like he did this past season, he's got the pass protecting chops and he's got the pass catching stuff as well. So if he has both of those things, and I think he can do them at an NFL level, he will be a day 2 pick, I think. I think he'll be a 3rd or 4th round pick, in my opinion. So very excited for Darius Taylor. So be on the lookout for that stud. Now we have one of Justin's favorite teams in the Big Ten,
I'm
the
gonna,
Iowa Hawkeyes.
I don't dislike the Hawkeyes. I got to be clear about that. But at the end of this, when we segue into our final team, which is going to be Nebraska, I'm going to have a little Iowa rant that I think Iowa fans need to hear. And they may agree or disagree, but I think they need to hear it for their own sake. So,
absolutely. But you see what they did last year with Caleb Johnson running the rock for him. I mean, he put up fantastic numbers for them last year. He brought them back from the dead, really. I mean, their offense was literally one of the worst in the entire country by a country mile. A few years ago, Caleb Johnson comes in there. He changes that a little bit. 8-5, 6-3 in the division. Very good. They even made a bowl game. They did lose in the bowl game, but definitely, I want to say they faced an SEC team in the Music City Bowl. I believe.
Missouri. It was exciting.
Mizzou.
It was an exciting game for sure.
Obviously, with the Iowa Hawkeyes, first thing you think of if you watch the Big Ten is defense, defense, defense. This is the classic team where they're going to beat you 7-0. That's what they're trying to do. Now, in terms of their offense, though, Kirk Ferentz, he put this team through a gauntlet of teams last year, and he made the 72nd ranked offense in terms of points per game. They were outside of the military academies, Army, Navy, and what's the other one?
The Air Force.
Air Force. Outside of the 3 military academies.
You from America, Bobby?
My bad. Look, so the 3 military academies, and then it was Iowa in terms of passing yards per game at the bottom. Right? Army averaged, I think, like 90 passing yards a game. They were like 112 or something like that. They were towards the bottom because why would you pass the ball? 130th passing offense in terms of passing yards per game when you have one of the best running backs in the entire country in Caleb Johnson, who had them 24th. They knew what they were going to do. Every team knew they were going to pound the rock with Caleb Johnson. They were still a top 25 rushing offense in terms of rushing yards per game. They run a pro-style offense. If you want to say pro-style, they run the ball. They're very much a traditional. They're going to run the ball, power you into the dirt, and make you hate yourself over the course of the game. But you do get a new quarterback to start, South Dakota State, who I want to say won the FCS last year, right? Or they went very far into it. I know they were the number 1 ranked team at one point. Mark Gronowski, he is going to be their starting quarterback, transferred from an FCS school, and 14 returning starters. So how do you feel about the Iowa Hawkeyes coming into this season? Do you feel like they're regressing? Do you feel like they're going to stay around the same? Or do you think they're going to be a playoff team? Playoffs.
I would not say that. I think that they're going to be a playoff team. I think that we're going to see kind of more of the same, and that's part of the rant. I mean, I'm just going to save it for the rant at the end. So
let's go ahead and look right into it.
Go right into
the film. Yeah. So this is my boy. I cannot wait to see what Caleb Johnson does in this Arthur Smith offense. People are like, but Jaylen Warren's there. I'm like, okay, man. I don't care about Jaylen Warren.
So Caleb Johnson fits. So let me pump the brakes on that for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Arthur Smith was a coach at Atlanta, and he had Bijan Robinson and decided to split carries with Tyler Algier and throw the ball to Jonnu Smith over Kyle Pitts. I don't know if Arthur Smith is exactly a brain trust when it comes to running offense and utilizing their key players.
Look, I want to say Arthur Smith, during his time as a head coach in Atlanta, he was off the juice. I don't know what he was doing, but when it comes to
nobody knows what he was doing.
Once he gets to Pittsburgh, it all changed. They gave Najee Harris like 25 carries a game, and Najee left in free agency. They didn't want to pay him. I don't think Najee wanted to be there either. But I mean, the Chargers were a great gig until they decided to replace him immediately after they got him. But with Caleb Johnson, they run the same sort of run schemes in Pittsburgh that they do at Iowa, and I think he's the perfect match for this offense. I think he's a more explosive Najee Harris. I know Najee Harris is a first-round pick, great player in college, right? But I think
Najee
I think
Harris,
I think
Najee
Caleb
Harris
Johnson very
has
much.
never broke a run over 40 yards in his
Nope.
entire career.
But he's been
So
consistent.
I will say this. I'm an Alabama fan, true and true, but he's probably the least efficient running back to come out of there. Volume king. Was never big on him. Dude, is afraid of contact. In my opinion, I mean, I can see why the Chargers replaced him.
Yeah.
I think that the Steelers fed him the football just so they didn't have egg on their face for drafting him in the first round. Just my take on Najee. Josh Jacobs was way better.
I agree.
Wasn't
We
even
saw
close.
that too in the draft capital as well, right?
Yeah.
He didn't get nearly as much carries at Alabama that Najee did. But I will say with Caleb Johnson, I know we're off on a Caleb Johnson tangent, but I think he's more explosive. I think he's better. And obviously the big thing with Najee was he doesn't get hurt. You can feed him the ball 30 times a game. Yeah, he'll be inefficient, but he's not going to falter. He's going to stay the same speed, like the whole game. So that's something to admire with him. And that's the type of back that Arthur Smith wants. Obviously, I think Caleb Johnson's going to be a little bit more consistent. Jalen Warren also hamstrings or shot, so I don't think he's going to be consistently healthy, unfortunately, even though I do think he's a talented back. But let's go ahead and look a little bit more into this. Here's, we got some buffering here. No, sir. One sec.
It looked fine here.
There
but
we
on
go.
this, while you're getting that booted up, you good?
Yeah.
Yeah, add it back to the. Sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. It happens. This is the internet. We're promised nothing. Got 32 viewers at the moment. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. I'm getting some connectivity issues. That's okay. But
it's all right. Give it a minute. But I hope you guys join us every Friday. We're going to be going over some Big Ten for the next 2 weeks. We got 5 more teams on the docket next week. And then we close with the Big Four, which will be Michigan, Michigan State. I know Michigan State's not one of the Big Four to most of you. But Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State. So those are kind of the 3 of the 4 of them are big dogs. But Michigan State probably has the coolest helmet in the Big Ten with their Spartan on it and the coolest mascot and the great color scheme. So next to Wisconsin, in my opinion. But this is perfect that we're having technical issues during the Iowa segment because I'm going to go over my
there we go.
My love letter.
We're
to
back
Iowa.
now.
All right,
we're back now. So here's some Caleb Johnson on a screen pass here. Throws back across his body, and then this is something Caleb Johnson's very underrated at, just catching the ball out of the backfield. So Caleb Johnson, I'll save that for if you guys want to watch some Caleb Johnson breakdowns, we will 100% do that. I think we'll probably be doing rookie breakdowns. Once the season starts cooking in, we'll go over all sorts of NFL stuff throughout the season. I think that's what we're probably going to go for. But with the Hawkeyes, I mean, they got a lot of stuff to be excited about, I think. Tim Lester's their offensive coordinator. You got Mark Gronkowski starting at quarterback, 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 7 picks in 2024 with the South Dakota. They're the Jackrabbits, right? South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
You mentioned them like 4 times already. It's so funny. You've mentioned them multiple times, so it looks like they've lost.
They had a receiver earlier, right? Yeah, they won the FCS, so a bunch of talent's going to be transferring to some of these Big Ten schools. But they lost their superstar. Yeah, that's the craft of college football, man. South Dakota State, y'all better start recruiting grocery bag waiters and things like that. But yeah, I cannot express to you guys how important Caleb Johnson was to this team. I mean, yeah, people lose workhorse running backs, but Caleb Johnson was special to this team. I really think so. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they replace him. They do have Kamar Moulton, who I think is very promising, but will he be able to be good enough to carry this torch? Because before Caleb Johnson, they were dead last in points per game in terms of offense. So we're going to see. Their offensive line mostly returns. That was one of the strengths of this Iowa team. They get 3 starters returning. So let's go ahead and look at Gronkowski. Shout out to the Holy Cross guy. He was
come on, man, correct.
Yeah, so I'm going to save the Kamar Moulton film for a little bit here, but look at that record, man. 4-5, mainly due to it's all going to be riding or dying on the run game, I think. And, with them, they're a little bit predictable now with what they're trying to do, so they're going to have to get creative on offense, and I don't know if they have that in them, unfortunately. So, yeah, man, I think they're gonna struggle, and the schedule isn't that great for them either. Obviously, they have the University of Albany. That's going to be a win. Iowa State, that's an interesting one. They lost a lot of pieces. They lost both of their wide receivers, very talented wide receivers, Higgins and Noel. So we'll see how that team bounces back. Iowa State, obviously, was a great team last year. UMass, I think they beat UMass. I think they'll probably start 3-0 maybe. We'll see how the Iowa State game goes. Rutgers on the road. We've talked about Rutgers, their home stadium, how tough, hard-nosed football they are. One of the worst logos in the division, in my opinion. Just a big R. That's okay. Tradition.
Rutgers
Indiana,
is the birthplace of football. Birthplace.
Hey, look, I got to respect it. I love how they play football, and they got some hard-nosed running backs that are coming out. I love how Pacheco runs, right? So we'll see. Indiana, it's a tough one. Wisconsin, I think, is a win. Penn State, no chance, I don't think. Minnesota, I think that's a tough one. Oregon, another tough one. USC, I think, beats them. Michigan State, they probably get the win there, and they probably end it with a Nebraska win. So I got them winning 6 games, so then they go to a bowl game, and then I don't know how the bowl game goes. It depends on who they play, of course, but I think they're playing for a bowl game. I think that's what they're trying to achieve here. I know they won 8 games, but I think Caleb Johnson was very much pivotal to this team's success. Let's see how you have them. You have them going a little bit better than me, 8-4. So obviously it's about the same as they did last year. So how do you feel about this schedule, and where do you see them progressing to in terms of an offensive identity?
Well, again, that's another part of the rant, but I think that they start off 6-0. I really do. I think that they can beat Indiana. They'll beat Wisconsin. They can beat Rutgers, UMass, Iowa State is a rivalry game, but I think that they can win that game over there in Iowa City. I think they'll beat Albany. And then the schedule gets a little tougher from there, but I do think that they've got what it takes to beat Michigan State. And then I think that they can upset somewhere because they always seem to do that. They've got a knack for that. It could be 7-5, but I like this team defensively. Who doesn't like Iowa defensively? Same script over and over and over with them. I'm surprised you didn't have any film on the tight end from them, unless that's your featured player, which I don't know because that's always just so you guys know. Bobby doesn't reveal. He does send it to me, but I like to do it in real time, so I have a little more surprise. I know that could be preparation.
They had a tight end come out this past year that I wasn't very high on at all. He did get drafted. I think he was a 6th-round pick, but he was not very much anything special, which kind of leads me to think that their tight end didn't get to start over that guy. So it's interesting. We'll see. A key player for sure, as I always.
But I do think 8 wins is about right. 7-5, 8 going bowling. They're not. They've won with some of the most abysmal quarterback play I've ever seen.
Yep.
They're like. It's like in 2001 is a good comparison. 2001, the Chicago Bears won 13 games and had Jim Miller at quarterback, but the defense was taking care of everything, and they had a solid run game. But yeah, they're replacing a legend that did go, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this is a churn factory, kind of like Wisconsin for the running game, and that's kind of what Kirk Ferentz does. So I think 8 wins is pretty reasonable for this team.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I think they're just a little bit limited offensively. But we go with the running back, man. We go with the sophomore running back, Kamari Moulton. I think he showed enough for me in the first season for me to pick him as hopefully the next great Hawkeye running back. So he's 5'9", 205 pounds. And if you guys know anything about how I like my running backs, that's exactly the size that I want. 5'8", 5'9", 205, 210 pounds. It's the perfect build, in my opinion, for a running back. But he had a respectable freshman season. 473 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. He was just very good behind Caleb Johnson. He was their other featured guy in this offense. And he's a former 3-star recruit. I don't know if he can continue this Iowa dominant run game, but we will see. And I hope that he can develop into a world beater with this skill set that he has, which is he's a super violent runner. He's got great balance. He's very hard to tackle. He's got some very solid vision. He's got some sweet feet, but he doesn't have a lot of burst. That's the thing that separates him from Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson had great burst once he hit the hole. He was very hard to tackle. He was a downhill runner. Kind of reminded me of Derrick Henry in that way a little bit. Obviously, Derrick Henry is much bigger than Caleb Johnson, but he just lacked a lot of burst on film. We'll see that. That's the biggest thing. And if you guys know how I scout running backs, burst is one of the most important things for me. Obviously, you can be an Ollie Gordon and be successful, but burst is very, very important for me at the NFL level because that turns 2-yard gains into 4-yard gains. And that's what they want in the NFL. They want you to have a consistent yards per carry. So here he is here, just bulldozing through, guys. He's a violent runner, guys. It's versus Illinois State, of course. Cade McNamara. I mean, just beautiful. He's always falling forward for extra yardage. That's the best thing about his game. You know, here's some sweet feet here. Gets tripped up a little bit there. You know, he's just a bowling ball that's just going to run into you. He's not afraid of contact, and he's always going to fall forward for extra yardage. Kind of similarly to how James Cook does in the NFL. Obviously, I think he's a little bit more powerful than James Cook, but he's just going to have to figure out the burst and be able to hit the holes a little bit quicker like Caleb Johnson did. And I think that's what made this team so successful last year. But Kamari Moulton, if he can develop, get a little bit faster on his feet, be a little bit more decisive in those cuts and hitting the holes that he likes to see, I think he can be a very solid back. But finally, we get into our last team here.
Hold on. We're going to back up that slide a little bit for 1 second.
Go for it.
It's time for my Iowa rant. I've turned off the music for this. I've been waiting to say this to somebody that'll want to listen. Now, I've been watching football, college football forever, and Iowa is one team that just does not change their identity. All right? And it's costing you everything. How many Big Ten championships has Iowa played for? How many times have they been close to the playoffs? They have to do something else. I think that they need to fire their coach and replace the whole thing and tear it down. They are stuck in mediocrity. You are the epitome of mid, and you have these occasional good seasons, but offensively you become a meme. Your fans, and I think it was 2 years ago, were holding up signs about punting. You know, like, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's fun bad is the term for it, but you're winning somehow because the defense is so good. But when your offense just can't do diddly shit, it's just got to be agonizing. They have to move on from Ferentz. I don't think Iowa fans think that that's a popular take.
Yeah,
because
he's beloved there.
They love him, and you know it's Iowa, and they're very home-centered and things along that sort. Part of the dogs barking, but they don't even want to hear Iowa. They're ready to get rid of Kirk. I think Iowa fans should say this is enough. We need to get in the 21st century. Nick Saban is a great example of this because he liked to run that style of offense and just win with great defense. And then he realized that wasn't going to sustain
itself. And now you're a wide receiver,
Well, he brought in Lane Kiffin, and then that totally changed the mindset. They need somebody new, somebody innovative, somebody who's running a spread RPO, something else besides 3 yards in a cloud of dust because you're not competing for the Big Ten championship. You're just not going to do it. Ohio State doesn't do that. Michigan does a little bit of – they've got like the fine mixture of it.
Yeah.
Iowa just play elite defense, but if your defense is just marginal, then you're really in a world of hurt. And you're going to these bowl games that you want better for your university. You want better for. I think Iowa fans should be like, this is it. Like, we're in a playoff expansion now where there's 12 teams. And if we're doing the same old song and dance and you're not motivating and you're not changing, then your ass needs to be out of there. And that is my Iowa rant. Iowa fans have to be sick of it. I can't imagine them not wanting something different.
I want to add on to that a little bit because when you run an offense like this, right, where you're only averaging like 100 yards passing a game, how can you pitch that to really good wide receiver and quarterback recruits? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, hey, man, come to Iowa so you can hand it off 100 times a year, 300 times a year. They're not going to want to do that. That's why they never have a solid quarterback. Cade McNamara was not good last year. And, they don't have any really big-time wide receivers, right? Because they're just getting them from the FCS level or they're getting them from bad teams, right? Nobody wants to go to Iowa if they're a quarterback, if they're a wide receiver. Tight ends want to go there, sure, but like wide receivers don't want to go there. I don't know the last time there was an Iowa wide receiver or quarterback that was relevant in the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to recruit more balanced and you want to get quarterbacks and wide receivers to come here, you definitely have to change that offense, right? You definitely.
Sure.
Because with Michigan, at least you got Roman Wilson going to the NFL. You've got J.J. McCarthy going. You're able to get talent to go to the NFL and put up some decent statistics, even though you're a run-heavy team. With Iowa, they're just we're running the ball every single play.
Stubborn.
And
it's stubborn.
Yeah, you got to be a little more balanced here. So I definitely agree with you there.
They should go hire Bobby Petrino. Just want to say, go hire Bobby Petrino. Absolutely. He went and turned around Arkansas. He's an offensive.
Now he's our offensive coordinator.
Right. That would be the guy I would go get. He would totally change things there. He would probably fit in with the culture there. They've got to stop being stubborn. They've got to stop having their head up their ass because you're just going around in circles. So unless you like that kind of thing and you're a glutton for punishment, good luck looking at Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Illinois,
USC.
You're just going to be behind them every year. How's that feel, Iowa? How's it feel? Get mad. Demand that dude do something or get him out of there. He's been there since the Clinton administration. Like, gotta go,
He's been in there forever. But with the Cornhuskers, where they're up next, they are another one of these teams that are, they definitely had a good schedule last year. They won a bunch of games outside of the conference. But all of their losses came in the Big Ten. They were 3-6 despite being 7-6. They won a bowl game.
Yep.
They were 3-6 in the conference. They did not play well in the Big Ten at all. And they're head coached by Matt Rule. Some of you guys probably remember him a little bit. He went to the NFL for a short term. I think he was only there for a year with the Panthers, and then they shot him out of there like a cannon.
I'm going to correct you. He was there for years.
He was there for 2 years?
He was there for a little bit. Matt Rule brought Baylor from the depths of extreme sanctions with their coaching staff there. There were sexual assault charges and all that kind of stuff against Art Briles. I mean, not assault, but just like he oversaw stuff, or I don't know the whole shenanigan, but it was a bad situation. Baylor had to let him go, and he went there and did great with them. And then the Panthers hired him. Just couldn't get the wheels going there. I think that there's certain coaches that are able to adapt. I don't want to say that these are exactly scheming things, but it's just two different jobs. In the NFL, you've got to deal with contracted players, and you have to deal with general managers and owners. Collegiate level, you're kind of teaching the game, but now you're going to have to be more of a CEO because of the NIL deal. So I don't know if he was necessarily like a bad NFL coach, but I just think it was more so than not the right fit.
Yeah. And, with him, the Panthers obviously weren't the best team at that time, right? They didn't really have much to work with. So we'll see how he does with the Cornhuskers. Obviously had a respectable season, won a bowl game, won the Pinstripe Bowl last season. So obviously winning the bowl games is going to keep you in that head coaching position. So in terms of the offense, they had decent yardage, didn't score that much. 103rd ranked offense in terms of points per game. That's definitely towards the bottom. 65th passing offense. So they did, they were top 70 passing offense, which is above average, and then slightly below average in terms of the rushing offense. The Cornhuskers, they try to run this balanced pro style offense with a lot of RPOs. They try to play off the run game, some West Coast style stuff, play off the play action, kind of like the Kyle Shanahan system. They just couldn't get the run game going last year. But they have Dylan Raiola, who's a sophomore now. He was very hyped up in terms of his freshman season. He was very inconsistent as a freshman, though. Obviously, he's got the Mahomes look. Pretty much he's a lookalike of Mahomes. They play very similar as well. Obviously, Mahomes little bit better of a player in my opinion, but they play with the awkward arm angles, things like that. So we'll see how Raiola does. But they have 9 returning starters. Obviously, they lost a few just because of graduation, things like that. But here's the Cornhuskers here off the RPO. Here's just working in space here. Great spin move by number 4. We'll see that one more time. Boom. Just some misdirection. This is, I mean, if you guys watched the Hall of Fame game, there was a touchdown thrown on basically this exact same play. It's a bootleg. It's shown all over the place, especially in college. Here's off the zone play. Look at that. Bowling ball, number 22 there. Hits the hole really quickly. Bulldozes over that guy. They're very balanced. They try to balance themselves as best they can. But their running backs just weren't really hitting it last year, unfortunately. And Raiola had to deal with some inconsistent talent issues here and there. So we'll see how Raiola does. They've tried to bring in some talent here. We'll go over that in just a minute. So Nebraska, Dana Holgorsen, I think that's how you say that, as the offensive coordinator. They definitely have some questionable running backs. I think this is the least exciting part of this team. You got Emmett Johnson. You've got Quentin Ives as their running backs. I don't think they're going to be anything spectacular. I think it's probably going to be a committee. Maybe Johnson wins that job. We'll see. But they have a lot of wide receiver talent that was transferred in. Dane Key, who's, a second, third round pick projected right now via NFL Draft Buzz. He's very talented. He transfers out of Kentucky, goes to Nebraska of all places. That was an interesting decision. But they got a Raiola, the talented quarterback. So we'll see how he's targeted this year. Naza Hunter out of Cal, same deal. Yep. He's fairly talented as well, not as talented as Dane Key. Then they got a talented freshman, Cortez Mills. He's a wide receiver, 4-star in 2024. And their O-line, we say this every single episode. The more offensive linemen that you can bring in and stay there for as long as possible, they get 3 starters returned, no transfers that were very big in terms of talent-wise. Very important stuff here. You want your O-linemen to stay together, have that chemistry together, and the more they spend time together, the better your O-line will be. So great stuff for Nebraska to return those big guys. And we're going to see right off the rip, here's some Emmett Johnson here out of the backfield, 21. Just extends himself for the first down there versus Rutgers. I didn't realize how hot Rutgers started off last year, 4-0. Here's another one here from Emmett Johnson, just getting the first down here. Here's Dane Key. No, this is the Cal guy, Nazi Hunter. Boom.
Nice.
Another just great. And that's basically what he does. That's the epitome of him. He's not the fastest guy. He doesn't separate the best, but he's a jump ball receiver. That's what you want him to do. You put him on fades. He's a big guy. Put him on fades. Put him on, kind of like DeAndre Hopkins was utilized at Houston. Kind of that same sort of ideal. Obviously not as talented as DeAndre Hopkins, of course. But that's basically what we got. And now we are on to the schedule, which I have them going 8-4. 5-4 in the division. I think they step it up a little bit this year. They're less mediocre in terms of the Big Ten wins. And obviously they have some solid teams that they're going up against. I think USC is a loss. Penn State on the road, that's a nightmare. People talk about Death Valley, LSU being a nightmare place to play. Penn State is horrific to play at. I think they'll probably drop the Michigan game. I think they'll drop the Penn State game, the USC game, and maybe the Minnesota or Iowa game, one of those. But 8-4, I think that's respectable. I think they'll beat Cincinnati at a neutral site. Do you know anything about that? I saw it was a neutral game, but not very sure about where they play or anything like that. It looks like they play in Ohio. But
that's kind of a good thing. I mean, that's August 28th, so that's not on Saturday. It's a Thursday matchup for sure.
But Akron, I think, is a pretty easy W for Nebraska. And it's very important because Raiola, they didn't really have that much of a big-time start for Raiola. He started off kind of slow, and then he kind of picked it up as the year went on. Raiola gets 3 fairly easy games with Cincinnati, Akron, and Houston Christian to just build that confidence up. And then, of course, he has to play Michigan right after that, one of the better defenses in the Big Ten. So we'll see how he adjusts to that. And it's all going to be on, look, Raiola, are you good or are you not? Because you have multiple transfers coming in. We've kept our O-line intact for the most part. You're going to have to perform because last year he had some great moments. Then he had some really bad moments. He turned the ball over a ton. He's going to have to clean that up if Nebraska is going to win 8 games. And I think Raiola will. You also believe in Raiola a decent amount as well. 9-3, what's your thought process of giving them 9 wins?
So first of all, with Dominic Raiola, people don't know he's a 5-star recruit, and he transferred. He was originally committed to Georgia. So, and he decided to go to Nebraska. It's so funny that we talk about this team because what year were you born, Bobby, for the masses?
I was born in 1998.
So at that time, I was already out of high school, and in that decade prior, and for forever, Nebraska was the dominant force of college football. They were up there with Florida State, USC. Alabama wasn't so hot in the 90s, but they were an absolute tough team. I mean, when they had Tommy Frazier, and I know Nebraska fans, Tom Osborne ran for Senate there, all kinds of stuff. And then, they had, Osborne retired, and they went to Frank Solich, and he was outstanding there. He kept winning 10 games, but it wasn't enough, so they moved on from him. He went to the MAC, took the job at Ohio, so they brought in Bo Pelini. And he was winning 10 games, but it still wasn't like perfection.
Yeah.
And ever since they got rid of him, it's been the shits over there in Lincoln.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is it Lincoln or Omaha? I can't remember which one they're in. I think they're in Lincoln. But nonetheless.
They are in Lincoln. Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's been almost 20 years of this, 15 years of being a lousy football team. And it still shocks me that this has happened to them. I mean, they had a couple
fell off.
Yeah, and they had a Big Ten championship appearance at one in there somewhere. But it should be a consistently good football team every year. Yeah. You have Big Red and the Cornhuskers, and just this amazing tradition of winning and hard-nosed football. Deep respect for Nebraska. But I think this is the year. I think Matt Rule is the right guy. I love him as a college football coach. He came to a place, I think NIL is hurting this team a little bit, is hurting the school because they don't have, I think those middle tier, like Great Plains, corn states, not necessarily the Midwest, but everything on this side of the Mississippi River all the way to Colorado, you're not really going to get the deep pockets to donate to your universities, whether it's Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma State. I mean, they had T. Boone Pickens, but he passed away. But there's just not – doesn't feel like that there's an NIL collective that's on a juggernaut level like you have at Texas or Georgia and so on and so forth. But I do think that they've got a good coach, a good plan. I think if you go to Nebraska, you want to be a part of that legacy.
Absolutely.
I think 9 wins are on the board here, and I think they start off – I think they beat Michigan at home. I think Michigan's still vulnerable.
That's very doable, I think.
Well, Coach, again, this is one of the games where the coach is suspended for. And so, he got to pick the 2 games that they were suspended for, which is ridiculous. You suspend him for the first 2 no matter who they are. But he went to Oklahoma, so he gets to coach at Oklahoma. It's just ridiculous. I'm going to go off him in our last episode. You best believe it. I'll have a little roll tide.
Definitely not a good look for them. But, of course –
But I wanted to go back to that slide.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't done. So I think that they start off really nice. And I think that they start off 6-0. I think Minnesota gets them. And then I think that they handle Northwestern. I think USC gets them for a home loss.
Yep.
And then they beat UCLA. And then I think Penn State gets them. And I think that game will be – I think that'll be a whiteout game. I don't know if they've already got those kinds of things planned. But I think that could potentially be a game to go to the Big Ten championship.
Sure.
Because if they beat Penn State and they beat Iowa, then they'll be 11-1. And it's very possible. But 9-3 feels right. I think that they're going to a New Year's Bowl game. And I think that with this resurrection of the Cornhusker program, we're going to see more recruits start to fall, kind of back into it. Because that's when you start to get the juices flowing again. It's like, look, we had this rough spot. I came in here. Matt Rule could say I came in here. We got it all straight. We're getting this collective. We're winning the games. We've got a quarterback who wants to be Pat Mahomes. So I think the Huskers have a good season this year. A good season.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. And I think this 8-9 win projection is a lot of this guy right here.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. He shows a lot. I mean, he shows a lot of really high quality tools here. It's Dylan Raiola, 6'3", 230-pound sophomore. Obviously, one of the higher end recruits in 2024. He was the number 1 player in all of Georgia. He was the number 2 quarterback of, I mean, obviously it was Lagway, I think, was the only other guy. I think he was the only guy above him was Lagway. I believe that's who was number 1. But regardless, they started him. They threw him to the fire in the Big Ten, and he struggled a little bit, guys. 2,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He definitely turned the ball over more than you'd like. But, guys, he has the traits, man. He has the traits. He's got a great arm. I mean, NFL-level arm for sure. He's got great touch. He's great off play action. Not the biggest or the best athlete, but he's able to work in space. He can throw on the run really well. And, he reminds me a decent amount of Patrick Mahomes, just not obviously as good. We'll see how he does. If he progresses into that, we'll see. But he's got to work on the decision-making. He can't get fooled by defenses so easily. And he's a very limited rusher. I think if he does go in the first round like Mahomes did and he gets thrown to the fire in the NFL, I think he's going to have the similar type of rushing upside that Mahomes does, maybe 200, 300 rushing yards, 2-3 touchdowns is like his peak, I think. But with Raiola, let's go ahead and go right into his film because he has some great stuff on film.
Sure.
This is versus Illinois, one of your favorite teams in the Big Ten. Obviously, may not win a Big Ten championship, but definitely one of the gatekeepers. Look at this. Boom. Beautiful touch within. This is against cover 3, I believe. Yeah, this is versus cover 3. Fits it right in there. That's exactly where you got to put it. And that's an NFL big boy level throw versus Illinois. Here's another big time throw versus Illinois. He played really good versus Illinois. Look at that. Boom. Beautiful throw. And you just see the layering it over the linebacker. This is a freshman. This is a freshman doing this type of stuff, guys. I mean, this is very impressive stuff here. Here he is on the run here. Arm angle, back of the end zone. Just beautiful touch.
That's an
beautiful touch throw. He has tons of NFL throws. Then he falls in love with that arm a little bit too much and then throws right into double coverage. He gets a little flashy. Obviously, Mahomes did some of the same stuff in college. Not comparing him to Mahomes. Obviously, he looks a lot like him. He acts a lot like him, right? Obviously, Mahomes is, if you're trying to steer for greatness, right? You're trying to role model yourself. If you're trying to make yourself after a quarterback, Mahomes is the worst one to go after by any means. So, yeah, I think Raiola takes a big step up. I think he's got an uptick in talent in terms of what he has around him to work with. So I think Raiola's 3,000 yards, 25, 30 touchdowns, and hopefully less than 10 interceptions is what I'm hoping for. But I could absolutely see him being a first-round talent if he continues to develop with the Cornhuskers.
I'll tell you, last year, they nearly went to Columbus and pulled the upset out. I mean, they had them on the ropes in the fourth quarter. That's a tough place for a lot of teams in Big Ten to play.
Absolutely.
Future is bright for them. I really do think so. He's going to take a step forward. I think that if he takes a really good step forward and Nebraska's in a playoff contention that late in the year, you might start seeing some wideouts that want to go there and catch the ball from him.
Yeah.
Just to get the feel, or you might see something, again, we live in the NIL era with transfer portals. There may be guys that, like Kendrick Law is a great example, went to Kentucky. He wasn't getting the opportunities at Alabama. Somebody might not get the opportunity at Georgia. Say, you know what? I can go play with somebody who's from my state and we'll play at a premier. Make no mistake, Nebraska is a premier college football staple. Always has been, always will be. You'll never take it away from them.
Tons of tradition, winning history, consistently been decent outside of, the past few years, but they're always, bowl game or bust. Like, they're not really a team that's going to stand for consistent mediocrity. So very, very good stuff that they were able to land a prominent quarterback right in their recruiting class. I think this is just amazing stuff, and I'm really pulling for the Cornhuskers, man. I think Raiola is a great story. I think he's got a ton of talent, so I'm hoping that he can step it up and do big things for the Cornhuskers this year.
Speaking of doing big things, Bobby, I like to do big things. I like to sports bet. And
Absolutely.
at the beginning of the show, I promoted my CFL package, which was $99. And today I had Winnipeg -3, and they covered nice. They won by 8, or won by 9, excuse me. It's another win in Canadian football. Just when it comes to this game, I've just got an eye for it. Not because I've got indulgence on it, or not just because I hear a thing or take a thing. I just been paying attention to this game for nearly 40 years is how long I've been watching football since I was 6 years old, as far back as I can remember. And I've lost so many bets in my life. I went through that entire phase of losing that a true gambler has to go through. I've lost so much for a long time to learn and understand the skills and the nuance and what it takes to be successful at this game. And because I do that, I know not to make the foolish bets. I know not to make these irrational decisions, and understand that if you lose a bet, it's not an emotional thing. You're just on to the next. It's really the Tom Brady mindset of just get on to the next play and treat every pick like it's the world championship. And that's what I do with my sports betting. If you guys subscribe to me, I'm going to have a college football package coming out soon. I'm going to have an NFL package coming out soon. And I might put up stuff every week just for you guys to sample through. I've been fortunate to look at Bobby's channel here and just try and understand things that I would never see watching it on the TV broadcast feed as these All-22 access. You're not going to find another show on YouTube that goes over college football like this and has access to all these films and has access to this kind of information. And plus, when you play fantasy, you get a better understanding of matchups.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you're able to make more rational decisions when it comes to watching these games. So another W in the books for me. I'll have 2 more CFL plays for this weekend. There's a game tomorrow and there's a game on Sunday. And then I'll have preseason bets up. I had a preseason pick for the Hall of Fame game, and it was a Hall of Fame pick, baby. What can I say? Chargers money line. It was belt to ass. Dan Campbell needs to brush his teeth because he had tobacco stains on his teeth at the interview. I don't know if you saw that. But I think he's going to be chewing a lot more since he lost his coordinator to the Detroit Lions.
Goff was in there doing it too, man. You saw him on the sidelines. He was spitting as well. So interesting stuff.
I think that the Lions are going to take a step back, and I think the Green Bay Packers in the North. You heard it here first. One in the North.
Yeah, I think with what you said, I think there's a lot of positives with, if you do a bundle like this, dude, it's easy to make your money back. He can get you as many wins as possible. He's been hitting north of 80% on his bets, man. He's been killing it. So very good stuff from him. So yeah,
Bobby,
definitely excited for football. Sure, man. Just dropped a video. I went over a lot of camp news, rookies that are rising for me and my rankings personally. Obviously, if you want to join our Discord, you can join that. It's got my rankings on there as well. There's a big spreadsheet that has top 100 quarterbacks, tight ends, top 200. There's just pretty much every rookie or player that you can think of. It's everybody in the rankings. It really is.
You'll find them. You want to know who the best long
them.
snapper is? Bobby has his long snappers ranked on his Discord.
I think I'm not there yet. I'm not that psychopath yet.
What about
eventually
holders?
I'll get there.
What about holders? Holders
no, that's usually the punters, man. The holders are usually the punters for the most part, not backup quarterbacks like you see in Madden. But yeah, if you guys are interested in sports betting, Justin Paul Sports is one of the best places to go in terms of betting. Dude, he's literally hitting on everything. It's every day I look at his free play and just like, yep, that's another W. And with me, if you guys love film breakdowns on NFL players, college players, if you're looking to win your dynasty leagues, I think my channel has a lot of unique perspectives about rookies and how I watch film, how I break down players. I think I come at it at a unique angle. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely go check that out as well.
It's worth it.
For all the 34, 35, we almost hit 40 viewers at one point at this point in time. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the content. You guys, we had some people hop in the chat this time. Beautiful stuff here. Definitely need all you guys to hop in the chat if you got any idea, any questions about redraft, any questions about dynasty, any hot takes on any of your college teams, NFL teams, you don't have to comment college football stuff. I mean, if you want anything football related, come in here, ask us, join the fun, man. It's a cozy environment we got going on here.
So before we close it out, I said I'd pop you with a trivia question.
Sure. Let's see if I can hold. I'm very spotty with certain things, certain eras as well, but I'm definitely down.
I see Bobby's got his screen up here just so you guys can see.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be going over Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, Indiana, and Illinois. So we're going to be bottom feeding next week. I mean, let's just call
Except
it
with Illinois. We
Illinois.
got to have one episode where it's all the bad teams. So Indiana's not terrible, of course. They Curtis Rourke took them.
Canadian's finest.
He went to the Niners. I want to say he was an undrafted guy, or he was a late 6th, 7th round pick. But yeah,
right.
What were you saying?
So trivia. I got two of them. One of them is going to be really hard, and one of them is going to be fairly mindful. Okay. So the easier one, the biggest blowout in Super Bowl history. Who was it, and who was it against?
It's one of the Vikings ones, right? Am I correct in that statement?
I'm not going to give you any hints. You have to guess. There's no elimination.
I want to say one of the Vikings losses was really bad in the 70s with Tarkenton, I think. Or it could have been one of the Bills losses.
Okay. I need to know what's your final answer. What is your final answer, Bobby's big board?
Well, let me go with, it's either the one where they got smashed by the Redskins. Let me go with the Bills when they lost to Dallas.
That is incorrect, sir. But that is close. That is.
I know
close.
That was a blowout. Not too big on scores. I'm more so on players, historical stats, things like that.
Okay. Well, the biggest blowout in Super Bowl history was the 49ers crushed the Broncos 55-10 in the Superdome. And
that would have been in the 80s, late 80s?
80s, yep. The Bills scored late. Ironically, if you go back and were to watch the Super Bowl where they were blowing them out, there was an opportunity for Buffalo to get back in the football game, but they just kept turning it over because Jim Kelly got injured. I mean, that's just kind of what happened.
That's tough. Yeah.
But here's a tougher question.
Okay.
This is a tough question. I don't know if anybody knows this. The 2-point conversion got put in the NFL in the 1994 season. Who scored the first 2-point conversion in Super Bowl history?
Is it a player that's notable at all?
No.
Then I have no shot. I have no shot in guessing that.
So it was the 49ers against San Diego Chargers. That was the one where Ricky Waters had 3 touchdowns.
I do remember Ricky Waters. He's a stud.
There was a tight end for the Chargers. His name was Alfred Pupunu. Scored the first 2-point conversion.
No shot. So, now, like if you ask me what year Sean Alexander rushed for 27 touchdowns, or you ask me who is the only player to win an MVP in their final season, or anything like that, like anything that's stat dependent, things like that, I'm usually very good at that. Like who has the most rushing yards in their 30s, who had the best peak in their 30s. I'd tell you John Riggins, like things like that. So I'm pretty good with player statistics and things like that throughout pretty much any era. 60s I'm not the best at. Like I can pull a Y.A. Tittle in the late 60s.
That's 50s. That's the 50s.
Well, Y.A. Tittle also played in the 60s, and he had a fantastic season with the New York Giants. He had, I want to say, like 3,800 passing yards and like 35 touchdowns and like 11 picks. He had a phenomenal season. I want to say it was 1964.
Can you name 10 Heisman Trophy winners off the top of your head?
Oh, yeah, probably, for sure.
Okay. I think we should.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. We should definitely have like one just crazy trivia show. There's a channel called BDG that does a ton of trivia stuff, and I think that's always super fun. I'm definitely got some holes in my game.
If you know him, maybe we'll go against each other. It'd be a special episode.
Oh yeah, that would be sick. That would be
You just
sick for sure.
pick the genre. But ladies and gentlemen, like the Toronto Argonauts, we are out of here. They're out of time against Winnipeg. My free play is currently up. I had the White Sox money line at the Angels, and they're winning 4-2 in the seventh. So if you subscribe to this channel, if you subscribe to my channel, I know Bobby's got way more.
Post them every day.
Every day, but I think it's just going to be football related going forward. Got 33 viewers. Thank you guys so much. Same time, 10 o'clock Eastern. We're live all the time, and we hope that you have a fantastic weekend. And next Thursday, we'll see some NFL preseason. And before you know it, week 0 of college football will be here. So we will continue week 3 of our Big Ten preview of our bottom feeders. But with that being said, for Bobby from Bobby's Big Board, this is Justin Paul Sports. Y'all have a great one and roll tide.